Imagine waking up tomorrow to discover that every source of pain, anxiety, and dissatisfaction had been eliminated from your life. No more heartbreak, no more struggle, no more uncertainty. Sounds perfect, right? But what if achieving this paradise meant surrendering your ability to think deeply, love passionately, or choose your own destiny? This is the haunting question at the heart of Aldous Huxley's masterpiece, Brave New World, a novel that feels more like prophecy than fiction in our modern age. Published in 1932, nearly a century ago, Huxley's dystopian vision presents a world where technology, psychology, and social engineering have created what appears to be a utopian society. But beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect world lies a chilling truth that continues to resonate with readers today. Why does this nearly 100-year-old novel still feel so urgently relevant? Step into the world state of 2540 AD, where the motto community, identity, stability has replaced individual freedom. Here, humans are no longer born but manufactured in laboratories, designed and conditioned for specific roles in society. The alphas rule as the intellectual elite, while betas, gammas, deltas, and epsilons fulfill their predetermined functions without question or complaint. But here is what is truly unsettling. Everyone seems genuinely happy with their lot in life. How did Huxley envision such a complete transformation of human society? The answer lies in his understanding of three powerful forces: technology, conditioning, and chemical dependency. The world state doesn't rule through fear or oppression like the totalitarian regimes in George Orwell's 1984. Instead, it controls through pleasure, convenience, and the elimination of discomfort. Citizens don't rebel because they don't want to. They've been conditioned not to want anything their society doesn't provide. The caste system in Huxley's world isn't maintained through violence or coercion, but through careful psychological manipulation from birth. Babies destined to be epsilons are deliberately stunted through alcohol exposure and oxygen deprivation, while being conditioned to fear books and flowers, anything that might inspire them to think beyond their assigned role. Meanwhile, alpha children are given the best of everything and taught to embrace their superiority. The result: a society where everyone believes they're exactly where they belong. But what happens when someone questions this system? This brings us to our first glimpse of the cracks in paradise. What makes someone rebel against a system designed to make them happy? Bernard Marx, an alpha plus psychologist, should be at the top of the social hierarchy. He has intelligence, status, and access to all the pleasures his society offers. Yet he feels profoundly dissatisfied, isolated, and different from his peers. His shorter stature and rumored alcohol exposure in his artificial embryonic development make him an outsider even among the elite. Bernard's discontent reveals something crucial about human nature that the world state's designers overlooked: the desire for authenticity and individual identity. While his fellow alphas contentedly participate in promiscuous relationships, recreational drug use Soma, and mindless entertainment, Bernard yearns for something deeper. He wants genuine connection, meaningful conversation, and the right to be alone with his thoughts, all things that his society views as dangerous and antisocial. But Bernard's rebellion is incomplete and ultimately selfish. When he gains fame and popularity by bringing John the Savage back from the reservation, he becomes intoxicated by the attention and temporarily abandons his principles. This raises a disturbing question. Are we all just one taste of social acceptance away from compromising our deepest values? Bernard's character serves as a warning about the seductive nature of conformity. Even those who recognize the flaws in their society can be bought off with status and belonging. His eventual fate, exile to an island with other nonconformists, represents both punishment and, paradoxically, a kind of freedom. Which leads us to wonder: is exile from a corrupt society actually a blessing in disguise? What happens when someone raised with completely different values encounters our perfect society? John, born on the savage reservation where people still experience natural birth, aging, religion, and literature, serves as the novel's moral compass and tragic hero. Raised on Shakespeare's plays and Native American traditions, John brings a radically different perspective to the world state's carefully controlled environment. John's horror at the world state's practices, casual sex, drug use, and the disposal of the elderly mirrors what many readers feel when confronting Huxley's vision. Through John's eyes we see the true cost of the world state's stability, the loss of love, art, religion, and human dignity. When John declares that he wants God, poetry, real danger, freedom, goodness, and sin, he is demanding the right to the full spectrum of human experience, including suffering. But John's tragedy lies in his inability to find a middle ground. Having been exposed to the world state's ways, he can never return to the innocent simplicity of the reservation. His famous final words, "I ate civilization," followed by his suicide, represent the ultimate rejection of both worlds. He chooses death over the compromise of his principles, but his death also represents the victory of the system he sought to resist. John's story raises profound questions about cultural clash and adaptation. In our increasingly globalized world, we witness similar conflicts between traditional values and modern secular society. Can ancient wisdom and modern progress coexist, or are they fundamentally incompatible? John's fate suggests that the collision between radically different worldviews may be irreconcilable. But what about those who are successful within the system, yet still feel empty? Helmholtz Watson, a brilliant Alpha Plus lecturer and writer, represents another type of discontent. Unlike Bernard's petty jealousies, Helmholtz's dissatisfaction stems from his creative gifts. He is too talented for the simple propaganda he is assigned to write, too intellectually curious for the shallow entertainment that satisfies his peers. Helmholtz's friendship with John the Savage illuminates the power of art and literature to awaken the human spirit. When John introduces him to Shakespeare, Helmholtz recognizes the depth and beauty that is missing from his own work. He realizes that true art comes from genuine emotion and real human experience, both of which are suppressed in the world state. The authorities' response to Helmholtz's growing independence is telling. They offer him a choice between conformity and exile. Unlike Bernard, who pleads to remain in the world state, Helmholtz eagerly chooses exile to the Falkland Islands, where he can pursue his writing among other free thinkers. His decision reveals that for some individuals, creative freedom is worth any sacrifice. Helmholtz's story speaks to artists and intellectuals in any era who feel constrained by commercial or political pressures. How many talented individuals compromise their vision for security and acceptance? And what would happen to human culture if we eliminated the struggle and suffering that often inspire great art? Who makes the difficult decisions that keep paradise running? Mustapha Mond, the world controller for Western Europe, represents the ultimate pragmatist. Unlike the citizens who have been conditioned since birth, Mond understands exactly what has been sacrificed for stability. He has read the banned books, knows the old ways, and has consciously chosen to maintain the system. Mond's conversations with John the Savage reveal the intellectual foundation of the world state. He argues that freedom and happiness are incompatible, that people must choose between the chaos of democracy and the peace of controlled contentment. His logic is compelling. Why preserve institutions that cause pain, conflict, and instability? Why allow people to suffer when you can guarantee their happiness? But Mond's position also reveals the cold calculation behind the world state's benevolence. He admits that some people, the alphas on the islands, are allowed to pursue knowledge and create art, but only in exile where they can't destabilize society. The system tolerates nonconformity only when it is safely contained. This raises uncomfortable questions about the nature of tolerance in any society. Mond's character forces readers to confront the trade-offs inherent in any political system. Every society limits individual freedom to some degree in exchange for security and stability. But where do we draw the line? At what point does the cure become worse than the disease? How do you eliminate human suffering without eliminating humans? The world state's answer is Soma, a drug that provides instant happiness without apparent side effects. Citizens are encouraged to take Soma whenever they feel uncomfortable, anxious, or dissatisfied. The government even provides it free of charge, with the slogan, "A gram is better than a dam," promoting its use. Soma represents the ultimate technological solution to human problems. Why work through difficult emotions when you can simply take a pill? Why struggle with relationships when you can achieve instant contentment? The drug eliminates not just pain, but the growth that comes from working through challenges. The parallels to our modern world are striking. We live in an age of unprecedented access to mood-altering substances, both legal and illegal, antidepressants, anxiety medications, and recreational drugs all promise to alleviate human suffering. Social media provides instant gratification and distraction from life's difficulties. Entertainment is available 24/7 to keep us from confronting uncomfortable truths. But Huxley's vision suggests that the elimination of suffering also eliminates meaning. Without struggle, there is no growth. Without pain, there is no appreciation for joy. Without loss, there is no understanding of love's value. The Soma-induced happiness of the world state is shallow and temporary, requiring constant renewal. How do you create a society where people willingly surrender their freedom? The world state's answer lies in its sophisticated conditioning program that begins before birth and continues throughout life. Through Hypnopedia's sleep teaching, classical conditioning, and carefully controlled experiences, citizens are programmed to desire exactly what the state needs them to desire. The conditioning process is so complete that citizens don't even recognize it as conditioning. They believe their preferences are natural, and their choices are free. A delta enjoys simple work and simple pleasures, not because they've been forced to, but because they've been made to want these things. The control is invisible, and therefore more powerful than any dictatorship. This psychological manipulation raises disturbing questions about free will and authenticity. How many of our own preferences have been shaped by advertising, education, and social pressure? Do we choose our desires, or do our desires choose us? The world state's conditioning program may be more extreme than our own social influences, but the underlying mechanisms are remarkably similar. Modern neuroscience has revealed how malleable human behavior actually is. Our brains are constantly being rewired by our experiences, and those who control our experiences effectively control our development. The world state's conditioning chambers may be fictional, but the power of early childhood experiences to shape adult behavior is well documented. What would people from our primitive past think of our advanced society? The savage reservation serves as a living museum of pre-world state humanity, complete with natural birth, aging, religion, and monogamous relationships. To the world state citizens, the reservation is a horrifying reminder of humanity's barbaric past. To readers, it may seem more familiar and human than the sterile perfection of civilization. The reservation's inhabitants experience the full range of human emotions and relationships that the world state has eliminated. They know love and loss, hope and despair, meaning and suffering. Their lives are messier, more painful, but also more authentic than those of the world state citizens. They create art, worship gods, and form lasting bonds with one another. The contrast between the two societies forces readers to question what constitutes progress. The world state has eliminated war, poverty, disease, and unhappiness. But at what cost? The reservation preserves human dignity, spiritual meaning, and authentic relationships, but also allows for pain, conflict, and injustice. Neither society is perfect, but which would you choose to live in? The reservation also serves as a critique of colonialism and cultural imperialism. The world state's treatment of the savages as curiosities reflects historical attitudes toward indigenous peoples. The novel suggests that in our rush to modernize and civilize, we may be losing essential aspects of human nature. Is technology our servant or our master throughout Brave New World? Technology serves the state's goal of control and stability, from the artificial wombs that mass-produce humans to the conditioning apparatus that shapes their minds. Every innovation is designed to eliminate unpredictability and ensure conformity. The world state's technology is impressive in its scope and efficiency. They've solved problems that still plague our world: hunger, disease, economic inequality, and social conflict. But their technological solutions come at the cost of human agency and dignity. People become products to be manufactured, rather than individuals to be nurtured. Huxley's vision of technology as a tool of social control has proven remarkably prescient. Our modern world is filled with technologies that promise convenience and connection, but often deliver surveillance and manipulation. Social media algorithms shape our beliefs and behaviors. Smart devices monitor our activities and preferences. Artificial intelligence makes decisions about our lives with increasing autonomy. The novel suggests that technology is not neutral. It embodies the values and priorities of its creators. The world state's technology reflects its commitment to stability and control above all else. Our technology reflects our own priorities: efficiency, convenience, and profit. The question is whether we can develop technology that serves human flourishing rather than undermining it. What happens to society when the family unit is abolished? The world state has eliminated the family as a source of potentially disruptive emotional bonds. Children are raised in dormitories by professional caregivers, and the concepts of mother, father, and family are considered obscene. Citizens are encouraged to have many sexual partners, but form no lasting emotional attachments. This elimination of the family serves the state's interests in multiple ways. It prevents the formation of loyalties that might compete with allegiance to the state. It eliminates the inefficiency of emotional relationships that might interfere with work performance. It ensures that all citizens are equally devoted to the community, rather than to particular individuals. But the absence of family also eliminates one of the primary sources of human meaning and identity. Without parents to love them unconditionally, or children to carry on their legacy, citizens exist in a kind of emotional isolation despite their constant social interaction. They have acquaintances, but no true intimates, sexual partners, but no beloved. The world state's approach to relationships reflects a broader tension between individual fulfillment and social stability. Strong families can provide emotional support and personal meaning, but they can also perpetuate inequality and social division. The novel asks whether community solidarity and individual love are compatible or mutually exclusive. Can a society based entirely on pleasure and entertainment maintain itself? The world state encourages its citizens to pursue immediate gratification through sex, drugs, and entertainment. The motto "never put off till tomorrow," the fun you can have today, reflects a philosophy of hedonistic materialism that keeps people focused on the present moment, rather than larger questions of meaning and purpose. This constant pursuit of pleasure serves as a form of social control more effective than any police force. Citizens who are always seeking the next thrill have no time or energy for political resistance or philosophical reflection. They're too busy enjoying themselves to notice what they've lost. The world state's approach to pleasure is both systematic and shallow. Citizens are trained from birth to find satisfaction in approved activities while being conditioned to avoid deeper forms of fulfillment. They enjoy recreational sex but never experience passionate love. They take Soma for instant happiness but never develop the patience for lasting joy. Our modern consumer culture shares many similarities with the world state's pleasure-seeking society. We're constantly bombarded with messages to buy, consume, and indulge. Entertainment is available instantly and continuously. The pursuit of happiness has become the pursuit of pleasure, and the pursuit of pleasure has become the pursuit of products. Can human nature be fundamentally changed through scientific manipulation? The world state's experiment in social engineering assumes that human behavior is infinitely malleable, that people can be conditioned to want whatever serves the state's interests. The success of their program suggests that human nature may be more flexible than we typically assume. But the novel's rebels Bernard, Helmholtz, and John suggest that something essential in human nature resists conditioning. Despite their different backgrounds and circumstances, they all feel drawn to experiences that their society forbids: solitude, authentic relationships, creative expression, and spiritual meaning. Their dissatisfaction implies that certain human needs are universal and cannot be eliminated through social engineering. The question of human nature has profound implications for political philosophy and social policy. If people can be conditioned to be happy with any circumstances, then perhaps the world state's approach is justified. But if human beings have inherent needs for freedom, dignity, and meaning, then the world state's stability comes at an unacceptable cost. Modern psychology and neuroscience have revealed both the malleability and the consistency of human nature. Our brains are remarkably adaptable, but certain patterns of thinking and feeling appear to be universal. The challenge is determining which aspects of human nature should be preserved and which should be changed. Is a perfectly stable society worth the cost of human freedom? The world state has achieved what many societies dream of: an end to war, poverty, crime, and unhappiness. Their citizens live long, healthy, comfortable lives without the anxiety and conflict that characterize human history. But this stability comes at the cost of everything that makes life meaningful. The world state's stability is purchased through the elimination of challenge, growth, and change. Citizens live in a permanent state of arrested development, neither suffering nor truly living. They exist in a kind of suspended animation, going through the motions of life without experiencing its depths. The novel suggests that instability and suffering are not bugs in the human system, but features necessary components of a meaningful existence. Without the possibility of failure, success has no meaning. Without the risk of loss, love has no value. Without the reality of death, life has no urgency. Contemporary debates about safety, security, and risk management often involve similar trade-offs. How much freedom should we sacrifice for security? How much privacy should we give up for convenience? How much autonomy should we surrender for stability? The world state represents an extreme example of these choices, but the underlying tensions are universal. Why does the world state ban Shakespeare and other great literature? The authorities recognize that art and literature have the power to awaken feelings and ideas that threaten social stability. Great works of art capture the full complexity of human experience, the joy and sorrow, love and loss, hope and despair that the world state has worked so hard to eliminate. When John introduces Helmholtz to Shakespeare, the writer immediately recognizes the power and beauty that is missing from his own work. Shakespeare's characters struggle with moral dilemmas, experience passionate love, and grapple with questions of meaning and mortality. Their struggles make them more fully human than the contentedly shallow citizens of the world state. The banning of literature reflects a broader suspicion of any activity that might inspire independent thought or emotional depth. Art, religion, philosophy, and science are all restricted because they might lead people to question the system that provides for their material needs. The world state prefers citizens who are consumers, rather than creators, users rather than thinkers. Our own relationship with art and literature reflects similar tensions. Great works of art can be challenging, disturbing, and subversive. They force us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and our society. In an age of entertainment and distraction, we might ask whether we're losing the capacity for the kind of deep engagement that great art requires. How do we balance individual freedom with social responsibility? The world state has solved this dilemma by essentially eliminating individual identity. Citizens are conditioned to want what the collective needs, so there is no conflict between personal desires and social requirements. But this solution comes at the cost of human dignity and authentic choice. The novel's rebels represent different approaches to individualism. Bernard wants to be special and admired, but within the existing system, Helmholtz seeks creative freedom and intellectual growth. John demands the right to choose his own values and way of life, even if it means choosing suffering. Their different fates suggest that there are various ways to assert individual identity against collective pressure. The tension between individual and collective interests is one of the fundamental challenges of human society. Every political system must find some way to balance personal freedom with social cohesion. The world state's solution is extreme, but not unprecedented. Many societies have prioritized collective harmony over individual rights. Contemporary debates about individualism versus communitarianism, personal responsibility versus social welfare, and freedom versus equality all reflect these same underlying tensions. The novel suggests that purely collective solutions are dehumanizing, but it also shows the dangers of extreme individualism. Why does Brave New World feel more relevant today than when it was written? When Huxley published his novel in 1932, many of its predictions seemed fantastical. Test tube babies, mood-altering drugs, and mass entertainment were more science fiction than science fact. But as we've developed these technologies, we've also moved closer to the social conditions Huxley described. Our modern world features many elements of the world state: widespread use of psychiatric medications, the decline of traditional families, the pursuit of instant gratification, and the use of technology for social control. We may not have achieved the world state's level of conditioning, but we've certainly moved in that direction. The novel's most prescient insight may be its recognition that totalitarian control doesn't require force. It can be achieved through pleasure, convenience, and the elimination of discomfort. People will surrender their freedom willingly if they receive sufficient compensation in terms of comfort and entertainment. But the novel also suggests that human nature has resources that resist even the most sophisticated forms of control. The persistence of dissatisfaction, the yearning for meaning, and the desire for authentic relationships continue to surface even in the most controlled environments. Perhaps these human tendencies offer hope for preserving what is essential about human dignity and freedom, what ultimately makes life worth living. Brave New World forces us to confront fundamental questions about human nature, social organization, and the meaning of existence. The world state offers material prosperity, physical health, and emotional stability, but at the cost of growth, challenge, and authentic relationship. The novel suggests that being human means more than being comfortable or even happy. It means having the capacity for love and loss, creativity and destruction, wisdom and folly. It means being able to choose our own values and way of life. Even if we choose badly, it means accepting responsibility for our actions and their consequences. John the Savage's final words, "I ate civilization," before his suicide represent the ultimate rejection of the world state's bargain. He chooses death over the compromise of his principles, but his choice also represents the victory of human dignity over utilitarian calculation. His death is both tragic and heroic, a reminder that some things are worth dying for. The novel doesn't provide easy answers to the questions it raises. It doesn't tell us exactly how to balance freedom and security, individual and collective needs, or progress and tradition. But it does force us to think seriously about these questions and to consider the true costs of our choices. As we continue to develop new technologies and social arrangements, Huxley's vision remains relevant and challenging. The world state may be fictional, but the temptations it represents are real. The question is whether we have the wisdom to pursue genuine human flourishing rather than mere comfort and stability. In the end, Brave New World is not just a warning about a possible future, it is a mirror reflecting our present choices and their consequences. It challenges us to think deeply about what we value most and what we're willing to sacrifice for it. In our brave new world, these questions are more urgent than ever.